Here's your smart fact of the day. All right. This is my poor version of Matthew McConaughey's famous sentence. But besides my poor version, did you know that Matthew McConaughey actually came up with the term McConaissance, to promote himself as a sort of a renaissance of Matthew McConaughey from a rom-com leading man to somebody who was a serious actor. He kind of made it look as if it has come from a journalist who was doing an interview with him, but this was his sneaky plan of building his new brand up. Welcome to Smarter With Sid, and in today's episode of Smarter With Sid, we are going to look at the wonderful Matthew McConaughey, Academy Award-winning actor, and look into how he has built his product as well as brand. Let's go. First of all, I used to always like Matthew McConaughey's acting as well as the way in which he carried himself. I don't think I'm a total fanboy of his as perhaps I am of, let's say, Clint Eastwood or something, but that's just me. I think he's amazing. I think his acting chops are commendable. And the fact that he is such an interesting all-round guy to just, understand from. There are so many lessons that go beyond the couple of lessons that I'm going to talk about in this episode, is what I understood when I actually read his autobiography, which he wrote for himself at the age of 50, which is called Green Lights. And it's a wonderful autobiography, by the way. I'm getting no commission from him or from anybody associated with him, but what a lovely, lovely man he is, and what an inspiring book it is. It is not completely like a self-help book, nor is it like a blowhard memoir. It is certainly something which is extremely engaging in its style. Now, you may not agree with all the things that he says in that book, but it's just an engaging book and lots of lessons to learn from there. But while I could do a complete review of Green Lights, the book, and Matthew McConaughey's life lessons, I thought I'd focus this episode on the way in which he built his product and brand as I gleaned from his book, right? So this is what I thought. First thought, have you seen his recent impassioned emotional speech about the Texas shootings that happened, the massacre that happened when the gunman, as usual, killed school-going kids in a horrible way? Now, he happened to do that in Matthew McConaughey's hometown, which is Uvalde. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. But he went to the White House and made an impassioned appeal to change the gun laws. And the way in which he did that was he's just a master storyteller. He just got the kid, one of the kids who died, her shoes, and showed the shoes on stage. And I think that he quickly realized that in order to make a point, being the consummate performer he is, there is no point in giving data and analytics. It's probably better to start off with an emotional story, and what a good cause he's done it for. So more power to him. But this is just an instance of Matthew McConaughey in action. So what makes him the man he is, the brand he is, and the product he is? First of all, let's understand that let's not analyze the man, okay? I'm trying to analyze him as a product. And once you look at him as a product, you have to look at him as the movies that he makes, or the television that he has, the detective series, True Detective, or, or the book that he's written, or, the way in which he comes across. So the content that he develops essentially is, I guess, Matthew McConaughey's product. And the biggest lesson that I got for all people who are trying to build product of any kind, and especially people who are trying to build some kind of content-driven product, is just look at the life Matthew McConaughey has led, right? So he is not somebody who is just acting based upon just, okay, I've got a role now, I have to play some HIV-infected drug addict and his life, and then just gain an Oscar because of acting skills. No, I think there's something inherently wonderful about Matthew McConaughey's sense of discovery and adventure. And I think if you just read his book, what you'll realize is that he does two things in order to keep refreshing himself. So he has lived a life wherein he's just gone from a trailer park to another trailer park when he was a famous actor, mind you, and just lived off trailer parks and gotten amazing experiences, met all kinds of people, all kinds of animals, and all kinds of beautiful surroundings enveloped him. And he used to actually literally have office meetings in places that were just very accessible by his trailer van in his trailer park. Now, he did that for a few years, and I think that he probably did that subconsciously, but he was doing a lot to add to his life's experiences. Now, compare and contrast that to any other leading star, especially in Bollywood maybe, who is flitting from one role to the other, trying to, kind of touch that persona at a superficial level, maybe do some research. But here's some depth of life experience that Matthew McConaughey has got, which makes it easy for him to translate that into, the small town characters he plays or the completely outsider related characters he plays with such conviction. And I think it is with this conviction and it is with this finesse and nuance that he brings to the table that the Matthew McConaughey product is so good that it's got him the Academy Award. Not only that, it's got him amazing box office success. So I think that is one big lesson from Matthew McConaughey, the product. Now, Matthew McConaughey, the brand, here's an interesting one. He actually coins the term unbranding, and I found it fascinating. He was getting pigeonholed as a rom-com leading man, and he was being very successfully, happy with it. He was happy doing his rom-coms and he was successful doing his rom-coms, but that's all that he was getting from all the people in Hollywood. Now, he could have continued like that, but it wasn't making him very happy. So he decided to unbrand himself. What does that mean? He actually completely unshackled himself of all the potential future success he would get by doing rom-com movies and just stopped doing them for a while. And he waited patiently for more than a year, in fact, probably close to 2 years, before the world started looking at putting Matthew McConaughey in a film that was not a rom-com. And for the world, after that little hiatus of time wherein he had gone off the radar, the world thought it was a good idea to cast Matthew McConaughey in that kind of film, and it would be really something else. Now, if you look at what he did, by removing himself completely from the scene, he was not trying to rebrand himself by doing a movie immediately and maybe funding his own production. What he did was he waited for public perception about him as a rom-com leading guy to be slightly lower. It was a big risk, big reward sort of move, and he could do it only because he had achieved financial success before. But for a mature brand like Matthew McConaughey, this kind of amazing turnaround was only possible because he followed his rule of unbranding. This was an amazing lesson for me and for so many other content-driven brands, and not only content-driven brands, any kind of brand. If you're trying to do a complete change, a 180-degree shift from wherever you are, it might be a good idea to lie low for a while and let people's perceptions be changed. And they do change very rapidly nowadays because of the information age that we are living in. People's perceptions keep changing. And so you have Matthew McConaughey over here just lying low and letting time do the work for him. Of course, he could do that. I think the closest person who has done that in Bollywood is probably Saif Ali Khan, who moved from his rom-com movies to, Sacred Games and some other edgy sort of roles, and that too in television. By the way, McConaughey also did television, which kind of rebranded him in another way. But the point to note, Milord, is that he doesn't call it rebranding, he calls it unbranding. And I think he's right. Before rebranding, you need to completely be forgotten for what you stand for. It's not easy. It's not always easy. And I've seen YouTube creators kind of like PewDiePie, for example, slowly transition their way into their new avatars. And that's also good. But McConaughey was not a YouTuber. He was a full-fledged celebrity. Celebrities are different from influencers because they are basing all of their charm on their aura and their mystery, right? And so he had to literally use that and reinvent and rebrand himself. And for that, he had to unbrand himself. So here are the two lessons, really. One on product, one on brand from Matthew McConaughey, and especially from, as gleaned rather, from his book, Green Lights. I hope you like this episode of mine of Smarter with Sid. Many more to come from where this came from. And if you do like this episode, do like and subscribe to my podcast. And by the way, if you like podcasts like mine, IVM Podcast has got a lot of more stuff for you. And if you like me, I'm the traveling professor. Do connect with me on LinkedIn and Instagram. Until next time then, until next time.